Yeah, they were stacking up. I keep wanting to interrupt. I was like, well, maybe I should interrupt. I guess I'll wait to the end. You spoke about in the time of Martin Luther, there was these peasants that rose up against the princes, and they had principles of Protestantism that led to these ideas that became political or whatever. And I don't know if you said this, but I think you mentioned there was a document that was written. They wrote a document.
They wrote a number of documents.
Yeah, that outlined their principles. Do you know any of the names of those and where that can be found? I'm just very curious about that.
The one that I've used with students is called the Articles of the Swabian Peasants.
Okay.
And I think it can be found online, or I can email, I have a PDF of it, I can email it to you if you want to read it.
Now, I wonder, in that document, is it like pre-communist? Or is there any communist ideals?
You can probably, like, interpret communist ideals out of there, but it is straight Protestantism. It is essentially saying if the Pope and priests and bishops, as Martin Luther has said, have no special authority over us, why does a king? Why aren't we all equal? If we're all equal under God, why aren't we equal in the state?
Wow, well, I want to find that.
It's a hard argument. It really is. If you accept the principles of Protestantism, it's a hard
It's
argument.
going to lead that way.
Yeah.
And then from the ideas of Enlightenment, that led into communism. So already in Protestantism, it's like the seeds of pre-communism. So Protestantism tends towards, Protestantism tends towards communism. That's what
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, what year would that have been? Was that 1540s? What was that? You said it in the.
I think it's. Let me check. But I think it's 1524. Like
1524?
it was.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah, it was very quick. Luther was still alive, and the peasants were doing this, and he's like, no, no, no. I don't know if he actually was like he actually didn't think that the peasants should do that, which would have been in his known character to himself rebel against ecclesiastical authority, but they turned around and said, no, not you, peasant. You do what you're told.
I don't think he saw himself as a rebel, though. I don't think Luther
saw himself
Luther
as a
had
reformer.
this.
Initially, Luther did not see himself as a rebel. In fact, he was actually, when he went to Rome, he was scandalized because he saw, imagine this, liturgical abuse and priests who acted like they didn't believe that it was Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, some of who even said it. So he's scandalized by this and goes home to Wittenberg, and that's when he starts getting all these neuroses, essentially, of wondering whether he's actually saved or not. Because he's like, if these priests in the heart of Catholicism can not believe and live these wicked and immoral lives, how am I going to know, poor little me, that I'm saved? But he actually, you're right, he wasn't initially a rebel, because he wrote to Pope Leo X and was basically begging him to fix what was going on in the church and saying, I submit to your authority and I'm coming to you as a child of a father. And Leo X kind of blew him off.
Of course he did.
Yeah, of course he
was
did.
a terrible person.
Yes, he was a terrible person. He was a terrible pope.
He was an adulterer, for sure.
He may have been a homosexual.
Yeah, exactly. Leo X was bad.
Yeah, and he came to, and so Luther's like, okay, well, he's not going to do anything, so I'm going to do my own thing. And then when the Pope came and condemned him with a papal bull,
Exsurge Domine.
yes, arise, O Lord, and let the enemies flee before thy face, is what it started with in Latin. So and that's when Luther was like, I'm done, the Pope's the Antichrist, burn the bull. And so, yeah, initially he wasn't a rebel, but by the end he's like,
Right.
Now, okay, I had another question.
Maybe he saw no other alternative because he couldn't accomplish anything by going through the right channel.
well, I'm sure he saw no other alternative. The problem is, at that point, that's when you say, okay, the Pope is wicked and corrupt, but he's the Pope.
Exactly.
So I'm just going to submit and try to, work out my salvation with fear and trembling, and then God will fix it. But no, he took matters into his own hands, and we have a mess.
So, the founding of Catholic Maryland, you'd mentioned John Carroll of Carrollton, but you said that, so wait, I guess it's a question. Was Maryland founded by Catholics or not?
Maryland was founded by a Catholic,
A Catholic,
Lord
okay.
Baltimore.
Was it founded for Catholics?
It was founded for Catholics.
And then you said they never reached the majority of Maryland, never even getting more than 10%.
Because
So-
they didn't have enough Catholics to actually populate a colony.
Okay.
These colonies were, with the system with mercantilism, these colonies had to be profitable for the crown to continue to support them.
Okay.
So in order to get a charter at all, he had to have these many people, and this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to support ourselves, and this is how we're going to get money for the crown and everything. So in order for the colony to sustain itself, he had to have a certain population, and he filled that population
With
in
non-Catholics.
with
Protestants,
non-Catholics.
exactly.
Right.
Or Trinitarian non-Catholics.
Trinitarian
Yeah,
non-Catholics.
okay.
But I don't think I'm trying to think, but I don't think there were any non-Trinitarian Christians
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah, probably not.
All that nonsense comes later.
Yeah.
In America.
Okay. I think that's pretty much the gist of my questions.
Yeah, because there wasn't very many Catholics on the East Coast. Most of the
Mhm.
Catholics were in the western part of the
Mm.
country.
Yeah. The lands-
Louisiana Territory.
Yeah,
and,
those.
And everything that was owned by the
French,
Spanish.
yeah,
Right.
The Spanish and the French.
I heard someone say, it may have been Brother Andre Marie, but somebody said, before America was the United States, it was a Catholic country. Because so much of what is
Yeah.
now the United States was controlled by France or Spain and had Catholics.
Mm.
You had missionaries who would shed their blood to bring the faith there.
Yep.
And then you get these 13 little Protestant colonies over here on the,
Well,
on the
see,
East
and
Coast that think
that's-
they're all that.
That's usually that was usually my argument for that time period where the difference between the settlements was a theological difference in vocation, because there was no vocational priesthood to Protestantism, so there was no missionary element. So the men that were settling the East Coast had to make a decision: do we evangelize the Indians or do we protect our families?
Yep.
Mm.
And that's how the Indians became the savages.
Right. Exactly.
Um,
And do we preemptively massacre the Indians
Right,
in order to protect
Right.
them?
Whereas the Catholics to the west, we had a missionary element
Exactly.
to the church where we could send out the Jesuit priests
Right.
before the military
Mhm.
and test these people.
Mm.
I think, so you actually have three, when you're looking at the settlement in America, you have three different models. You have, like you said, the English model, which is colonization.
Mhm.
So not only, in addition to what you said, which is exactly right, they were trying to take the land. So it wasn't like, we're gonna live in harmony with these people. It's, if we need land and you're on it, you move.
Right.
And so there was always that conflict. In Spain, people were making this big deal about Junipero Serra and how he supposedly condoned slavery and whatnot, which isn't true at all. He actually walked 2,000 miles to Mexico to protest the treatment of the Native Americans by the Spaniard military
Mhm.
in California. 3 years before the Declaration of Independence, I might add. But there was more of we want to make the Indians into our subjects. We want to make them Spanish.
Right.
Well, part of that included teaching them the faith.
Right.
So that was part of it. So there was conflict there. You had Pope's revolt where they massacred a bunch of the Franciscans and stuff like that. But for the most part, it wasn't as bad as what you had on the East
On the
Coast.
East Coast.
France didn't even want to really settle Canada. They just saw it as a money-making opportunity. So most of the people who came were single men. And then you had the Jesuits who came to evangelize, and the king kind of let them. But they didn't, the Spanish the Franciscans traveled with military entourages
Right.
and as part of military, chaplains to military troops. The Jesuits were just like, hi, please don't kill us. So it's the French. It's the reason there was a French and Indian war,
Right.
because the Indians all wanted to join the French side because the French were their friends. They bought stuff from them. They treated them like
They were the Catholics.
customers
Right.
instead of people to take stuff from.
Right.
So it was very interesting to look at that difference. Unfortunately, the United States adopted the English model. But then there's a whole lot there too, because
I always thought it was interesting that Thomas Jefferson knew exactly what he was doing when he bought Louisiana. That was the very first, I guess you would say, bastardization of the Constitution.
Oh yeah,
where
it was the first. It was
He
the first
totally
violation
gutted it, yeah.
Because but the funny thing is he even told I'm trying to remember who it was. He told one of his advisors, it was his ambassador to France who was trying to broker the deal, who was like, he told him, I was like, the Constitution does not give me authority to make this purchase. And it may have even been James Monroe, who was the father of the Constitution. And he told him, he's like, Mr. President, we have to do this for the good of the country. Like, just go with it. Like, it doesn't say you can't either.
Right.
So, and that's what happened. But yeah, there's zero authority to purchase new land in the Constitution for the president. But,
Well, there's also zero authority for abortion in the Constitution.
right.
And a lot of things
Right.
that the Constitution, yeah, exactly.
Cool deal.
All right, thank you.
There you go.